Hello and welcome back to the X-Files Revisited. We are moving on with Season 4. This is Episode 10, Paper Hearts.
Yep.
Brian, you alluded to this being one of your favourite episodes, possibly the favourite episode of this season.
Of this
No,
season, yeah.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about the legacy of this one.
I think generally highly regarded amongst X-Files fans. I think there's times when they pull all the stops out to get a really great guest star. I said last week, at the end of last week, that the one I would most commonly link this one to is Beyond the Sea, because it has a similar kind of vibe in the sense that, like, as with Beyond the Sea, it was Scully, and here it's Mulder, but it's essentially one of them going into a prison to speak to a serial killer in order to solve a case that's going on outside, and playing games essentially with that person.
Yeah.
It becomes like a mind game. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say this is it's not quite up there with Beyond the Sea for me, because I think Beyond the Sea might very well be my all-time favourite episode. But Tom Noonan, guest star, I think they clearly liked the script they got from Vince Gilligan. Obviously, people know Vince Gilligan now from Breaking Bad, but made his start on X-Files, doing really great episodes like this. And so, yeah, I just think, they put their number one director on, which is Rob Bowman. They got a big guest star. I think there's reason for that, and that's the script is a really, really good one.
Okay. Shall we get to the guessing?
Let's get to the guessing. 217 episodes. Where does this fit?
27.
It is 20. 20. So, yeah, according to IMDb users, this sits at number 20.
Wow. So we're talking top 10%.
We are indeed.
Interesting. Shall we dive into this episode then, Brian?
Let's do it. Okay. Really curious to see where you're going to go. I mean, I think I've already given my game away, but you've got your best poker face going on. So let's see what happens.
Always.
Okay, so we open up with Mulder sleeping, and then all of a sudden this little red light kind of appears, and he wakes up and he kind of starts to follow it, and it feels very dreamlike. The music is actually quite jolly. It feels like very I mean, there's a lot of allusions in this to
I would
Alice in
say
Wonderland,
the music's very whimsical and fantasy-like.
Alice in Wonderland, I would say.
It turns dark, but it's it's a dark opening. I would say.
Yeah. So he carries on following this light that it's like a light pen, and at one point it goes Mad Hat. It says Mad Hat, and he carries on following it. Obviously, Mad Hatter, and he finds this girl lying among some leaves, and then as he sees her, she just sinks into the ground, and that's when he wakes up, and we realise, oh, it was a dream, and then it really does turn dark. He goes to the place where he recognised it in his dream, and he finds the body of a young girl there from many years ago.
And it's a really strong opening. Like I said, that it feels very much like a grim fairy tale opening.
Yes.
It's kind of childlike, it's fun, it's carefree, and then all of a sudden it takes a very dark connotations. It also gives you a hint into, I think, what one of this episode's thematics is again, is Mulder and his obsessional quality that he has. He just locks onto something, and that is all that he will see, and that he won't stop driving towards it. And sometimes that's a mistake because he puts on the blinkers and doesn't see everything that's there. His laser focused, but it's just a nice to see that obsession, you know.
Yeah.
How many people would wake up from a dream, look for a place, and then actively go there right then?
Yeah, and I think as well with Mulder is like, as we've kind of noticed in the past, if you've got a Scully-centric episode, I think we both tend to feel we're going to be on pretty safe ground. If you've got a Mulder-centric episode, particularly a Mulder-centric episode that's dealing with his sister, if it's not a mythology one, an out-and-out mythology one, but it touches on it can be a bit hit and miss. It can be a bit, it can lay it on pretty thick. But I think throughout this episode, actually, I'm really engaged, and I'm with Mulder.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It does a really good job of, I think, like right from this opening scene of putting us into Mulder's perspective and keeping us there and not making us roll our eyes and go, oof. So, yeah. So we get past the opening scene, and Scully is now at the scene. There's some forensics kind of dusting off the skull, the skeleton. Mulder's getting a bit impatient. He wants them to hurry up, and they're like, "This takes time." And he just goes over and just starts like basically destroying evidence. You know, but the thing is, like, when he first did this, I was like, you wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't. No. But having said that, Mulder knows who did this. He knows essentially why he's found this body, the link, so to speak, and he knows that the person who did do this is in prison, and he will die in prison. He ain't getting out. So whether they destroy evidence here or not, it ain't going to affect the outcome of this guy's sentence. So so for one respect, I get it, but even so, still a bit unprofessional from Mulder, because for all he knew, it could have been a copycat.
Yeah.
So purely from a professional standpoint, you do still have to say, well, hang on, I think I know who this is, and it won't change the outcome if it is him. But there's still that minute possibility. It might not be. It might have been someone else. So he's just destroying evidence. And Mulder tells Scully about John Lee Roke. This is a man that Mulder tracked down many years ago, and basically this guy killed young girls, and he would cut out a heart shape from their clothing and keep it as a memento. And one of the things that always bothered Mulder is that this guy admitted to killing 13 girls, but they never found the paper hearts, and he always thought if we found the paper hearts, we could know for sure how many he killed. Scully has an explanation as well for Mulder's dreams. So she thinks that, and there's a bit here that I absolutely love, because it's actually one of my favourite Mulder quotes, and Scully uses it and throws it back in his face. So this is from season 2, which is the Colony Endgame two-parter, when Mulder says, dreams are just answers. Oh no, so it might be Irresistible, actually. I don't know. It was around that period anyway,
right,
where he says dreams are just answers to questions that we have not yet learnt to ask. And Scully uses that to remind him that actually he may have worked out the questions in his subconscious, so to speak, to help him find the answers. So he's essentially solved the case in his sleep, because the information he needed was buried deep.
Yeah, it's been ticking over. He's been mulling over it, and he said, "I kind of like that idea. It seems plausible enough." Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So we learn that the girl whose body they found is this girl called Addie Sparks, who
Yeah.
went missing in 1975. And so they go to see Addie's dad. Now there's a reference here that I only picked up on this time around,
All right.
and I
Okay.
cannot help but feel like it's intentional.
Mhm.
So the little pocket that they found
Oh, for the Tooth Fairy.
for the tooth fairy, yes.
Yeah.
So they say we made that so that when the tooth fairy comes, it can give the tooth. But in this case, the tooth fairy did come
Yeah.
from Michael Mann's Manhunter in the shape of Tom Noonan. Only he didn't leave any money; he took the child.
Yeah.
So I can't help but think that that was intentional.
Oh, it must have. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I thought it was a little nod and a wink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
One
never
of-
picked up on that before.
Yeah, I want to give a moment's thought or talk about the father's
Yes,
reaction, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It's somber,
heartbreaking.
it's subdued, it's like that is, you can kind of tell that longing for closure, and now he's got it. There's no comfort in it whatsoever. It's
No.
made absolute zero difference to him, and just it's not like a big emotional sequence. It's just that kind of introverted.
Understated.
Yeah, it's
Understated, yeah.
wonderful.
It's but you feel it. The guy's performance is really great.
It's fantastic.
You could have a tendency with something like this to go large,
Yep.
really milk it, but he just subtly kind of tries to hold back the emotion, and there's more power in that because
Yeah.
we've all been there where we don't want to let that out, but you just can't help the cracks from kind of opening up. But it's just it's a really great performance. I found it really moving, particularly as a dad. You can really relate. Everything in this episode, to be honest, is just right down. I mean, we'll get there when we get to Tom Noonan, but like, yeah, I really want to talk about Tom Noonan. So, so Mulder thinks that the hearts might be in Roke's car, so he has a little flashback to the dream that he had. So he's now looking at that dream and thinking, is there more in that dream I had that could give us some clues, which kind of feeds into exactly what Scully was saying, to be perfectly honest. So he thinks that the hearts would have been in his car because he was a door-to-door salesman. He was a traveling salesman, so he thinks he would have had to have kept his car with him, and he would have wanted to keep the hearts with him. So they track down the car, which has basically been pimped by some young man who picked it up, who seems absolutely over the moon.
His street cred has just exponentially exploded.
Yeah,
Because now he's got a tale to tell.
yeah. My car was a serial killer's car. Like I'm sorry, but that would not excite me one iota. I would want rid of that thing. I would feel betrayed. I would feel disgusted, and I wouldn't want to drive it anymore. It's just
Yes, icky.
yeah.
So like Mulder and Scully are obviously searching the car to see if they can find anything. And one sequence that I really liked is when Mulder pulls out his knife and just cuts into the middle of the seat. Now, it's kind of funny because it's pointless, but what I like about it a lot, and I could be reading more into it, is the lack of focus in Mulder's thought process. Like, it's going to be somewhere where he can get a hold of this book. It's going to be somewhere where he can easily get to it. Not in the middle of a seat where you have to cut in to get it. But Mulder's just obsessionally trying to search through every part of it. He's not taking a step back and logically thinking. He's just in a rush and emotionally trying to get to it quickly.
I think possibly there's that. I personally think that for one thing, they may not even be the original seats. We know this guy's pimped this car out. The car was, it's really old. It's a classic.
Yeah.
So we know this guy's pimped it out. I think what it boils down to is Mulder's disgust of this celebrity culture for serial killers. I think he does it out of spite. I genuinely do. I think because he doesn't even really look in the hole. He cuts it open and goes, yeah. It's like, it's just, and he even gives a line to Scully because she's shocked that he does it. It's like, why would you? And it's like, and I really feel like it's this. We've just told this guy that the dude who owned this car was a serial killer, killed little girls, and he seems to be like over the moon by it. So, F him. He just ruins his upholstery.
Yeah, I just feel like the whole episode is about Mulder's inability to hold on to facts when his obsession takes over.
Yeah.
But I could be reading more into it than actually is there. It's just what I see.
Yeah. Like I say, maybe. I just think it. Yeah. For me, it's the spy angle. Okay, so they realised that they took that this guy who pimped the car, he'd taken the roof off. There's like a back compartment,
Camper
roof.
section, I think they call it.
Yeah. So they go and they mooch about for that. They find it, and of course they find the hearts, and they begin to count them. That the hearts are inside a Alice in Wonderland book. Clearly, this guy has a something of a kinship, shall we say, with the Mad Hatter, who, for anyone familiar with the lore of like Alice in Wonderland, and that there are often kind of correlations drawn to the Mad Hatter being a bit of a paedophile and luring Alice off and this that. Whether Lewis Carroll meant that or not, in other. I mean, you think of Batman. There's a Batman villain called the Mad Hatter, models himself on the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. And in recent years, in the comic books, there has been some stuff there where they've made it quite clear that the guy's a bit of a pedo. So, it makes sense that this Roke guy finds some kind of, I don't know, sees himself in the Mad Hatter in some way. But they count the hearts anyway. They're in this book, and there are 15 of them, not 13. So
16.
16 of them, not 13. So they know that there was another 3 victims. They've found one, obviously, which means there is 2 left. So yeah, they finally go to see Roke. Mulder knows now that we got to get this info out of him. We've got to try and get him to confess. Try and find out. And I love this scene. Absolutely love this scene. So this is Roke is playing basketball in the prison basketball court. Mulder and Scully go in. This is the first meeting with him. You can see the disgust just pouring out of Scully. She hates this guy even before speaking with him, and it's like, now the predominant way I feel that most actors would approach this role, and as we have seen in many a number of X-Files episodes, where it has almost been to the episode's detriment. The way to play it is really dark, really serious, really obviously psychotic, very
Intense.
Insane, disjointed, maybe twitchy, throw in a bit of a twitch there. That is not where Tom Noonan goes at all. And it really makes this guy even more hateful, scary, creepy. He has fun. This guy just you feel like if you met this guy in the street, you might get on with him. if you didn't know what he was up to, you'd think he's a pretty charming guy. And the truth of the matter is that most serial killers, people like John Wayne Gacy, who won Man of the Year in his hometown 2 years in a row, that's how they get away with it, because they are like this. They're charming. They've got a playful side to them. But I just love this scene right off the bat. Roke is playing mind games with Mulder, and it's a brilliant moment where Mulder says, "Just why don't you just tell us where the other two bodies are?" And he says, you shoot a basket and I'll tell you where they are." And Mulder shoots a basket and he gets it in one, and the guy's response is like, "What, you trust a child molester?" And then he just walks off, and it's like, oh, so it's just like, this guy knows what he is. He has no qualms about what it is he's guilty of, what he's done, who he is inside. He gets off on it. He enjoys it. It's all just a game to him. But I just feel like I get so much from who this guy is just in this opening scene, and it's all down to Tom Noonan's performance.
Yeah, he's great there. I think there's a kind of there's definitely a under the surface perverted pleasure in antagonizing or playing with the person that put him away. You can see that kind of, like, because he holds all the cards, really. He's not going to get out of jail. He's not going to get his sentence shortened. There's 3 more murders waiting to be pinned on him. It's just whether he can be bothered or how quickly he wants to give that information away. He's for the first time in a long time, he's in a position of power.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mulder's at home. He has another dream. Only this time, his dream is very much a recreation of the famous Samantha being taken scene from all the way back in Little Green Men from season 2, and Mulder kind of reenacts it, but not as a boy, as the grown man. And the aliens are coming through the door as they did way back when. Only this time, when the door opens, it's car headlights, and rather than an alien stood there, it's Roke. And he comes in, he takes one look at Mulder, and again, it's just that those different ways of playing it, the choices you can make as an actor. Like, I would never have thought of playing it the way that Noonan does here, which is that he comes in and he's almost got glee on his face.
It's like a kid at Christmas. There's a sense of thrills and excitement on him. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. This is fantastic. This is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing is, we know that Noonan can do the more stereotypical, like, really dark, really twisted, really off kilter psycho, because he did it in Manhunter, and he did it really well. He was very scary, but in a different way in that film. And I feel like, if they're going to hire Tom Noonan to play a serial killer, and it's like, it would be very easy to make all the same choices and to just, well, we're going to hire him because we know he played it in this way, so that's what we want. And actually, Tom Noonan comes and he says, well, this isn't the same character. It's not even remotely the same character. Like, you could say, oh, Tom Noonan, obvious casting there, but the Tooth Fairy and this guy are just, they're both serial killers, but they're on completely different wavelengths. I have no sympathy for this guy, whereas I have a certain level of sympathy for the Tooth Fairy because of the way that character unfolds. Just the glee on his face where he looks down at Mulder, and then he looks over, and he's looking at Samantha, and then just a big smile comes up on his face, and he goes off. Really great choices being made. So Roke says he sold a vacuum cleaner. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's it. So they go to see Roke, And Roke says he sold the vacuum cleaner to Mulder's parents. And he says, "Bring me the hearts and I'll tell you the rest."
Yeah. And
Mulder...
it feels like a scene where Roke is fishing, just reeling in his prey, just throwing out the bait, reeling it in a little bit, letting them go a little bit further, pulling them back in.
Yeah.
It just feels very manipulative.
Yeah,
but Mulder just doesn't seem to see it.
No, because he's so emotionally skewed.
He's locked on.
It.
He's cued in. He's locked on. He's obsessive. It's yeah.
So Mulder hits him anyway. Just punches him out, and I love how the guard comes in, and Noonan's reaction when he's just like, he hit me, like kind of thing. Just the way he plays it, and then the guard's just like, "No, I didn't see it," just walks out. But Scully's like, "I did." I just see, she's like disapproving big time. Yeah. Even though Scully wants to hit this guy as much as Mulder does. She's very principled and very kind of by the book on it. So, and more than that, I think she's looking out for Mulder. It's like, why would you put yourself under the bus like this for this guy?
I don't
really
think.
Doing.
Yeah, I don't think she's. I'm thinking about it just now. I don't think she's 100%. Like, she's not upset with him hitting the guy. She's upset that he's lost control of the conversation and passed that power over to him. Yeah, that's what's kind of annoying her.
Yeah, that's it. So Scully tells Mulder that he's being played. He asks her, and I really like this scene. I love this scene actually. So they're in the corridor, and it's like she tells him that he's being played, and she makes a really good case as to why he's being played, and like the access to the internet that Roke has in the prison library, and he could have found out all this stuff like about Mulder and whatnot. And Mulder's response to this is, "Do you believe that my sister was abducted by aliens?"
Yeah.
And Scully has to say no. Of course she doesn't. And the thing is, it's like, if she doesn't, what would be the most plausible kind of story then behind that? If she was taken, who was she taken by? And it opens up the, not just for Scully, but for us as an audience as well. Like we take it as gospel that, Samantha was taken by aliens. It's the whole premise of the show. Certainly for Mulder's character at any rate. But what if it wasn't? Like, what if it is the fact that Mulder's memories are skewed and that he remembers things differently in order to cope with the trauma of it all and stuff? There's something I could mention here, but I'm reluctant to, because let's just say this theme, or this idea, I should say, comes up again at some point in the series in a very big way. Almost like this episode was done and then Chris Carter was like, yeah, and it got his cogs turning.
It's the way like Mulder's kind of having almost a crisis of faith.
Yes.
He's had that such strong belief that Samantha was abducted. He turns to Scully, asks her a question, and like any good, I suppose, investigator or psychologist, she refers it back onto him. Well, what do you think now? But nobody's answering a question. Everybody's just posing points, and it's a lovely little scene.
Yeah. It's just really good. It has a lot of emotional weight, just because the things these characters are discussing in this moment are things that are right at their core.
Yeah, it's deep-seated trauma.
Yeah,
it's stuff. It's ingrained in them.
but philosophies as well. It's things that define who they are as people. Mulder isn't just talking about anyone that went missing. He's talking about his sister, and he's not just talking about the fact that she may have been abducted by this guy. He's talking about the fact that if she was abducted by this guy, then his whole reason for chasing after UFOs is now gone. It's defunct. And then you've got Scully on the flip side of that, who's, you know, she doesn't believe in aliens, and she, you know, she's now got this story unfolding that it's just, yeah, it's very much at the core of who these people are, and it's just yeah, brilliant writing by Gillian, I think, who gets to the heart of these characters. Mulder goes to see his mum, and he shows her.
I mean, he goes to ransack her basement.
Yeah. He happens upon his mum as he goes to her house. Yeah, he wakes her up because he's like.
But I do love it. This woman's had a stroke. I'm going to bust in her house, ransack her basement, and make her terrified.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the actress who plays his mum is only like 10 years older than David Duchovny. But yeah, he shows her the hearts, the two hearts that are remaining, and he's trying to ask her do you recognise them? He's hoping that, you know, and I like the fact that, you know, why would I? Why would I? You know, I've got 2 kids. You asked me to remember a piece of clothing that they had when, I mean, admittedly, if it was the clothing they went missing in, then maybe it would ring some bells.
Possibly.
So I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they both look the same.
50 years later, would you still remember that fabric? Would it have been skewed in your memory? Would it just all changes over years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then he asks her, well, "Did Dad? Did Dad ever buy you a vacuum cleaner?" And it's like, "Yeah, he did. It's over in the thing." It's like, what a thing to remember. Like, I mean,
what a thing to still have.
Yeah, what a thing to still have, and what a thing to remember. Oh yeah, I remember that time your dad bought me a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
Oh. So romantic. One of the best presents he ever got me.
Yeah. One of my favourite anniversaries.
Yeah. Anyway, he finds a vacuum cleaner, and it's very much the model that Roke described. So, because he says that he did sell a vacuum cleaner to his mum and dad. But, okay, so Mulder goes to see Skinner about being denied access to Roke for assaulting him, because it turns out that it was caught on security cameras. So he didn't get dobbed in by Scully. It was the security cameras. And then he and Scully talked to Skinner about, well, just about why they should be let back in. And again, a scene I really like, because Skinner's very much, you know, as we've said many times before, he's the cross your T's, dot your I's kind of guy. He's by the book. He's, you know, he wants everything, and yeah, they have to convince him that Mulder can go in there and remain objective and not get emotional. Yeah, but I like how Skinner kind of, in many ways, he puts the onus on Scully. He's like, look, he's your dog.
Yeah.
Keep him on a short leash. Don't screw this up. So he's just like, oh, great. Once again, Mulder's going to get Scully in the crap.
It's another facet of the relationship. You've actually seen it over the past couple of episodes where Mulder just runs about causing utter chaos. And Scully's just there, just trying to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Like, it's just, it's fun.
She's basically Harvey Keitel in The Assassin. It's just like, the cleaner. Okay, so Roke makes Mulder choose one of the 2 remaining hearts. He says he'll tell him where the body to that particular heart is. So basically it's like 50-50 chance it could be his sister. This guy is literally buzzing his tits off right now.
Yeah.
This is the most fun he's had in years. He's just messing with
Because he knows that no matter which one he picks, he can always play it off as it was the other one.
There you go, yeah. So,
like, are you sure that's the one you want to pick?
Oh man, there's that moment and the look on Scully's face. Like in that moment, I felt like Scully was going to punch him. That would have been a nice moment actually, because like we had Mulder punching him before, and Scully's like, no. It would have been funny if Scully actually punched him after saying that. Maybe a bit too on the nose, I don't know, but
and then just actually left a mark or caused some damage.
Yeah. That would have been par for the course. But her face, because again, like everyone in this episode is on fire. Like Gillian Anderson, like she's always such a great actress anyway. But like you know exactly what's going on in her head just from these few little looks. Like she doesn't say anything. The only people speaking are Roke and Mulder. And that just when he says, when he says, "Oh, are you sure you want that one?" And you see Mulder like a child almost, "Oh, have I picked the wrong bag of sweets?" Yeah, and he's totally eating out of this guy's hand, and you see the concern, both the concern for Mulder in Scully's face, as well as the absolute disgust and hatred for this vile specimen of a human being that sits before her, and it's just. It's such great acting from all 3, really, in this scene. So Mulder and Scully go to dig up the body that Roke has given to them, and then later on, Mulder is at the morgue checking the body out. He goes to see it, and he checks the collarbone, and from that he deduces it's not Samantha, because Samantha broke her collarbone when she was a child, and there's nothing wrong with the collarbone. So he knows it's not her. But as Mulder says, it's still someone. So it's just a reminder that yes, it's not Samantha, but actually that's still someone's child. And in every case like this, that's somebody's child. So Roke will only tell Mulder where Samantha is if he can show him personally. So in other words, I've got to take you there. I've got to do the walk around, show you what happened. He wants to get out for a day, basically, and see the look on Mulder's face.
Yeah.
But
tied into this whole episode is the idea that this is a man who sold people things. He could talk them round. He went into their houses and could change his tack to whatever was needed. And this is his big final game. He's played this perfectly. He's the way he's played with Mulder, everything's going to this, because this is his last chance. After this body's found, he's forgotten, he's away, locked in a cell until the day he dies. So he's kind of playing everything up to that point, and it's a wonderful kind of mind game that's set up.
And he doesn't want to come back. This is the thing.
No,
he's going to get out of prison, and he's going to stay out of prison, whether it's escaping or going out with a bang, but he ain't coming back. That's the impression I get. So just that line when he says, besides, I want to see the look on his face again. Scully's disgust. It's just and the pain there. And although when you see Mulder, he keeps his composure, and I feel like in this scene he's reached a point where he's like, okay, this guy's playing games.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to formulate a few of my own. And Scully says it's not a good idea to give this guy what he wants. He's just leading you, and Mulder gives the impression that you're right. So he goes home, sits on the couch for a bit, twiddles his thumbs, and then he makes a call, and he basically has Roke released, and takes him with him on a flight.
Imagine if Scully was there for this part. Imagine if he'd taken his partner along with him.
Yeah.
Would
Would have been helpful, that, wouldn't it?
It certainly would have. Yep.
Would have been real helpful, Mulder. But well, I'll wait for a minute. There's a bit I want to get to, but so Mulder and Roke are on a plane, and Roke wants to go to the toilet, so they've got to get him to the bathroom without showing the handcuffs. So they kind of says, keep it covered, and they go, and then a trolley dolly cart kind of gets
right.
This kind of separates them. Go on.
I have never seen a plane where a trolley cart can be even moved a fraction, let alone be turned to block an aisle. This is the most unrealistic part of the entire episode. Those things are as wide as the aisles themselves.
Yeah, you see them coming, don't you, a mile off, and it's just like,
You can't get by it. It's just blocking the full thing. This is like Austin Powers doing that 25-point turn with that trolley. Turned it full on.
Yeah, out of everything that's going on this episode, that is the most unbelievable part of the whole thing. That's that's where I've lost the suspension of disbelief. It
ruined the whole damn thing, Brian. I was out. After that, I just couldn't buy anything.
I wasn't coming back in after that. So Skinner, first of all, because they're separated, it affords Roke a little bit of time to meet Caitlin. There's a girl looking out the window, and he bends down. He's all charming to the mother, and he's like, "What's your name then?" And gets the name out of her. And then Mulder just about catches up with him. He's like, "Get your ass moving," kind of thing. We go from there to Skinner being absolutely pissed.
Yep.
I'm roasting Scully. He's like, "I put this on you. This is your fault. Let's go and clean up your mess." And Scully's just looking like, "I got nothing. Yeah, I got nothing."
He's almost berating her for not literally accompanying him 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you mean you went home to sleep in your own bed? It's like, you should have been keeping an eye on him. But now, so we get this scene now, and this is another callback, I think, in many ways, to Beyond the Sea. Because Mulder pulls the exact same trick. So if you remember in Beyond... the New York Knicks t-shirt. So if you remember, he tears a little piece off his New York Knicks t-shirt and he gives it to Luther Lee Boggs to do his honing kind of thing. And he puts it in his hands and he gives all this vision, and then he's like, "That wasn't from the victim. I tore that off my New York Knicks t-shirt. You're lying your ass off." And he's out of there. And he essentially does the same thing here. So this is Mulder's MO down to a T. He takes him to the house, his house. Yep. But as we know, they had a summer house, and they have the house where his mum currently lives. So he's clearly taken them to the other house, and Roke swallows it. He's like, "Yeah, he's doing his. It was here, and I saw this and that and the other." And Mulder's like, "Really, right? Okay, yeah, you're full of crap. This isn't the house where it happened. That house is 6 miles away.
No.
So
But there's a level of like enjoyment in Mulder. He's like, ha! I finally
yeah,
caught you. You thought
yeah,
you were going to get away with this, and I have stopped you. Not realizing that Rourke has got everything he wanted.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay, the game's done, but he's still got a second part to play in this game.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I still like. There's a certain moment of vulnerability there in Roke. Again, Tom Noonan doing a really fantastic job. There's that moment where he knows he's lost that particular game, maybe not the overall game at this point, but he's been found out. But he does that thing where, you know, that liars do, where they're still trying to cover the tracks, even though they're still trying to kind of push it on you, like, no, but it was 30 years ago. All houses look the same back then. You know, it's like, so it's just, you can see him trying to dig his way out of it, but Mulder's not having it, and it's just, but
No.
yeah, just the way he plays it, it's yeah, certain sense of vulnerability there that I kind of liked.
If you can name the brand of vacuum that you sold them, then you can
Yeah,
you can tell which house it was.
yeah, which Mulder pretty much calls out, because he's like, you were so spot on with so many of the details, and yet you couldn't get the house. Really? Okay. And that's when Mulder says, like, I don't know how it was, how it's happened, because maybe it's because I spent so long profiling you. Maybe you ended up profiling me subconsciously, but there's this kind of nexus between us, and it's created some kind of psychic link. So yeah. Mulder has another dream. He sees his sister in Roke's car. He goes out, gets her out of the car, gives her a hug. Absolute delight on his face. And then all of a sudden she's gone. He's awake. There's no car there. When he goes back inside, Roke's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it wakes up 'cause
no. Well, no. Yeah, he wakes up. He's handcuffed to the table, and
there's a nice little moment here where he goes out to get the girl. He gets the girl out the car, and then it says "bye." A little red light changes to "bye,"
yeah,
and everything. The car speeds away, and then he wakes up handcuffed under the table.
Yeah.
And it kind of alludes to probably the big unanswered question throughout this episode: why has this been going on? Like, how has this been going on? And it could just be psychic link, whatever. It's not really answered. But that kind of alludes to the fact that Rourke has been playing within the mindset of Mulder.
Yeah. Okay.
Voodoo, Brian.
Voodoo, yeah. So Mulder thinks Roke will go for Caitlin. He checks for her details on the flight manifest, but he's told by the person on the other end of the line that he'd already checked it 10 minutes ago. So, yeah. See, I think this was intentional in many ways by Roke. I think Roke's left these breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Because, because he didn't have to go back for Caitlin. But I think
I think he knows time's short.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be caught. You know, when he was caught previously, it was 15 years prior or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like things have moved on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a case of not going back to prison.
Yeah, I think the whole Caitlin thing is a way of getting Mulder to ultimately shoot this guy in the head. He don't want to go back to prison, so he'd rather go out in a blaze of glory. So Caitlin has been taken. The babysitter is absolutely distraught, blaming herself. Then Mulder kind of leans in and says, "It's not your fault. It's my fault." You're damn straight it is.
Now, from us watching this episode, we understand that.
Yeah.
Look at it from the babysitter's point of view. This car's pulled up. Some guy ran out and said, "It's not your fault, it's mine," and then runs away again. It's so baffling. It's one of those just silly point of view things.
Yeah. She's just like
Love
some randomer. Just yeah.
it.
Okay. Anyway, so they basically deduce that Roke most likely took her to a property that he used to own nearby. So when he was doing his travels, this is the most likely candidate. And if you buy into the fact that these are literally just breadcrumbs that Roke is leaving, then it makes even more sense, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like Roke is in the position he's in with Caitlin when we find them in a moment. So because
He's waiting.
yeah, he's waiting.
Yeah.
Just waiting there. He knows they're going to get there. That's what he's waiting for. This is his end game. So they bust into the house. There's no one there, but Mulder notices the bus scrapyard.
Oh man,
Great
production value.
location.
That thing is amazing.
It's a great
What a
location, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So much depth to
Yep.
shoot in because there's just the rows and rows of buses, and you could be hiding anywhere, and
Yeah.
absolutely great. Anyway, Mulder catches up with Roke. Basically, he's in one of these buses. He's got Caitlin in front of him. He's got a gun on her. Mulder's like, "Come on, come quietly. Let's not do this." And Roke's like, "I ain't going back to prison." Mulder puts a gun to his head, and then there's something that Roke says here, and I don't believe that it's a genuine kind of, "I want to live, and I want, don't pull the trigger, and I'll give up the other body," because he's like, "You'll never know, you never know if it's Samantha or not if you kill me." But I honestly think that's the last mind game he plays.
Yeah.
He wants Mulder to shoot him. He forces his hand to shoot him. That's exactly it's the only way he wants it to go. But before he goes, he drops that pearl of, "If you shoot me, if you kill me, you'll never know." And he just leaves Mulder with that seed that'll just always be gnawing away at him. This guy's just an arsehole right to the end, right to the last breath. But yeah, he starts to pull the trigger, so Mulder just blows his head off, takes him out. We get a final scene where Scully tries to console Mulder. She just comes in, kind of gives him a little bit of a hug. It's a nice little scene.
Yeah. There's a moment here just where the camera kind of dollies along to Mulder, and for almost half a second it just kind of pauses on the "I want to believe" poster that's in his office, and then when it frames him over his left shoulder, it's that "I want to believe." Just that constant mantra that he has. He always wants to believe. It's just there, and it's just a nice little thing. And that is the cuddle where she's kind of standing. He's sitting down. He puts his hand round her and he cuddles. Is a moment of true affection,
friendship,
understand,
in its purest form.
It's like love boiled down, not romantic love, but just compassion, affection, in such a throwaway sequence almost. It's there and it's gone, and it's just 100% honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It's played so, as is often the case in the X-Files, and particularly between Mulder and Scully. It's one of the reasons that, because I don't know about you, but even when X-Files is at its worst, the thing that keeps you going, it is Dave Duchovny and Gillian Anderson and their chemistry. There's there's so many TV shows that just don't quite have what it is these two actors have between them, and it's just, it's gold. That's all I can say. And it's moments like this that just always make me root for these two and buy into them, and it's the reason they're two of my all-time favourite characters on TV. But my wrap-up is simply this. I stand by what I said last time. This is absolutely a 5 out of 5 for me. There's only one other episode we've got coming up that I think is a contender. But I just, yeah. Vince Gilligan, brilliant writer. Rob Bowman, one of the best directors on the show. Everyone's on brilliant form here. They chose an absolutely blinding guest star actor who took a part that somebody else would have played in a more obvious way, I feel, and made it something entirely more sinister as a result of going in a completely different direction with it. The story is a really personal one. It really cuts deep. And it's just, yeah, it's one of the best episodes of the show for me, to be honest.
Yeah. And your score?
5 out of 5.
I'd say there's two things I want to touch on. I just agree with you with everything you've said, but what's happening between Rourke and Mulder is never answered. Really, we're never given a solid answer, and I don't care.
Yeah,
you know, I don't need it. It doesn't have to be there, which is a great construct to have within an episode where it's, you know, you don't need what's driving this on. It doesn't have to be something silly. And the second thing I'll focus on is the lack of Scully in this episode. She's pushed away a little bit. She's not at the forefront. This is Mulder's issues, and it's a Mulder episode. But whenever Scully is away from Mulder, the episodes normally drop down. They're not as strong. It misses out on that. And although there is little moments here and there, I personally, as a Scully fan, do not miss her in this episode from the moments that she's gone. Yeah. It's still captivating and holds me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's one of the few Mulder-centric episodes where you're like, you don't even realise that Scully's not there as much as usual. But when she is there, she matters. She really counts. It's like she's not just brought in for, we've got to have her here. She's got to do, when she's there, the stuff she says and the stuff she does really shows you the strength of their relationship and why they are so good for each other. And why they're in, how they're in each other's corner, and it's just fantastic. So, what's your score?
5.
Excellent.
Okay, so we had the Tunguska, Terma, Paper Hearts, and next we have El Mundo Gira. We're just going up and up and up, Brian. So tell me a little bit about the next amazing episode of the X-Files that we're going to discover.
Okay, so people may disagree with me on this one, but that's fine. But while I think Paper Hearts is one of the best episodes ever made of the X-Files, the episode that we got coming up next is, in my book, not only the worst episode of season 4, but the single worst episode of the entire show. Okay?
Oh, gosh.
I've seen it twice from what I remember. I think. It may only even be once. I've certainly never seen it more than twice, because it's just, I don't even remember Mulder and Scully being in it.
Right.
It is a subtitled episode for pretty much most of it, following an immigration storyline thing going on with El Chupacabra, and it's just, I am so disinterested when I'm watching it, that you can have bad episodes where you can have bad episodes where you still can be entertained by them because they're so stupid, or they're so like, I don't think this is going to be one of them. I think it's going to be one that is just, every scene is just going to be so boring to talk about that it's going to be quite painful. For me personally, as I say, I've always considered it the worst X-Files episode ever made.
And with that ringing endorsement, we look forward to the next episode, where you can hear Brian wax lyrical about this next episode. I am curious about it, Brian. Now, it could be utter crap, but Yeah, I want to see what you consider to be the worst ever episode of the X-Files.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that I come to
I'm
this
hoping you're wrong.
as an yeah. It's just I'm hoping that after all these years, that I'm coming to it now not as a teenager but as an adult who's seen a lot more, foreign cinema and can maybe appreciate things in the story that I didn't back then. I'm hoping that's the case. I've got a terrible feeling that's not going to be the case, but I ain't looking forward to it.
I can just picture youthful young Brian just completely trashing his room because this episode had subtitles. Just like, this is ridiculous. I want to watch the X-Files, not read it.
yeah, pretty much. Just, I at least want it to have Mulder and Scully in it, for crying out loud. But yeah.
Well,
Right.
as always, thank you for joining us in our X-Files adventure. We will see you next time for episode 11. Yeah, it should be a good one. Bye.
Bye.